Now, Washington Mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630. WMAL.
8:36 on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. Brian Wilson, Brian Neiman. We got the big G8 summit that's starting up at Camp David. Not too far from Thurmont, not too terribly far from Frederick. A lot of people are coming into the area because they want to protest. One of the guys who's going to be doing it came down from New York is a guy named George Guerci, who is joining the forces of Occupy Frederick in advance of the G8. George is on the line now. Hey, George, how are you?
Good morning, Brian. Yes, it's if I may make a correction, it's Guerci with a G.
Excuse me, I am so sorry. I got bad information. My deepest apologies. Okay, so you came down from New York to join the forces of Occupy Frederick. What's going to happen with these groups in advance of the G8 or during the G8?
Well, we want to get together and discuss issues that are relevant to the G8's meeting here nearby at Camp David. We believe that the main topic is, if I can leave you with a couple of R's, resources and resistance. The summit here, we feel, is about important people in these G8 countries, which of course include France and Germany, Italy and Japan, the United Kingdom, Canada, and of course the United States and Russia.
Right.
Which are meeting now at the bequest.
Well, what's your beef with them?
Yeah, well, they're meeting to discuss opportunities to get the resources in other countries like Afghanistan, resources that have to do with mining, with petroleum, like there is in Somalia, and they want a presence there, and they're using instead of the traditional means, which is boots on the ground and lots of troops and such, because the populations of these respective nations, including the United States, are tired, are weary of this constant war that's, we're told, against terrorism.
Well, let me make sure I get you straight. You're saying that these countries are colluding, getting together to somehow take the resources, whatever resources there are, out of Afghanistan and Somalia and other countries, that they will use those and become their gold, their treasure?
Well, it's what they've always been doing. These are, colonial powers by tradition. We don't have to go into the history of the United Kingdom and France and even our own country.
But George, what are you going to be doing? Because there's some people. Let me stop you. Some people have suggested we're going to have problems. Are there going to be problems? Are there going to be violence? Is it going to get ugly?
This is what democracy looks like, Brian. These are average citizens and taxpayers, veterans like myself, people who work in this country.
But is it going to get ugly?
I don't think so. We're going to discuss things. We want transparency. We want to be able to have maybe the people from the media there covering what's going on.
I asked this, George, because the people in Frederick, the business owners in Frederick, have been told, hey, you know what? Be ready. You may have to board up your windows. You need to take stuff off the street because we don't know exactly how ugly this thing's going to get. So I guess it's fair to ask the question, should the people of Frederick be worried?
They have a right to know, and I can guarantee you from my lips to your ears that we're here just to discuss things and to enlighten people and to educate people. We want to, this is what democracy looks like, people getting together and trying to find out what their leaders have in store for them. It does not mean by any means that it's going to be something ugly or a demonstration that is going to curtail business in any way.
Well, I want to go back to why you think these countries are doing, or how are they doing this? I mean, I heard this about when we invaded Iraq. It was, blood for oil. We're going to take their oil. Did we get any oil? I mean, have we? Are we better off after that? I mean, have we really gained anything from being in Afghanistan economically? I mean, can you give me some evidence of this?
I can only go by what I read. Okay, according to their own published reports, For example, there was a report in 2004, by the World Bank, which of course works closely with the G8 people. They had a report that mentioned mining and how
8 years ago.
Yeah, well, that's why we're still there, and that's why this conference is there, headed by our president. Our salesman-in-chief, President Obama, is wanting to sell this opportunity to mine the the nation of Afghanistan for all it's worth. There's been reports there by the World Bank that there is iron, gold.
Yes, there's no doubt about it. I remember that story coming out too long ago that there are all kinds of worthy minerals and I don't know, platinum and things like that. But I mean,
the important thing is that these nations are weary of war, including our own. Our armies have been just dissipated by the constant fighting against terrorism, or whatever you want to call it, weapons of mass destruction. Remember that one?
Yeah.
So now the new tactic that our president and our nation and other nations here at the G8 are trying to implement are the implementation of drones, these unmanned surveillance vehicles that can also be armed and can assassinate people by remote control. They do not have crews that fly the planes. They're flown by remote control from pilots who are safely ensconced in bunkers in this country.
Can I just say to you, George, that when there is criticism of the Occupy movement, one of the criticisms is it's a little vague and unfocused. I don't really understand what they want or what their position is. And as I talked to you this morning, I mean, with all due respect, because I know you believe the things you believe very, very forcefully and very passionately, but I have a hard time following what it is you guys want.
What we want, Brian, if I may say it very succinctly, is we want an end to our money being spent on weapons. We want our money spent here in this country. We want the post office to be a viable source of our.
See now, this is where you start out with a very forceful statement, and then you're off talking about the post office.
The post office,
I can't follow you.
We're told, Brian, if I may, we're told by our leaders in the Congress that we haven't the money.
Right.
We haven't the money, that we have to practice austerity, and yet we have a bill that's costing us $11.8 billion in taxpayer money to implement the use of drones here in this country as well as overseas.
Right.
And the people I've spoken to have been just about unanimous in their fear of drones here in this country, and they think it's very cowardly, their use overseas.
All right. George, we're out of time. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you coming on.